Welcome back.
We're good? Roll it.
Roll it.
Welcome back to the Volley House podcast, episode
49.
49.
Moving up in the world.
49, the last episode of the year.
Yay.
We are here at Kolka Studios, so if you need a firehouse built, give them a call. We got Ryan Mackey on the sticks. Be sure to give him a follow at max_visuals. That's MACKS. Go to volleyhousepodcast.com or DM us to ask us questions and send in stories or videos you'd like us to review. Also, give us a follow on all social media platforms at Volley House Podcast and subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify. Let's get into our...
And thank your wife for these lovely
magnetic
these Volley House podcast
Yep.
signs.
Thank you to my wife for this
Gotta thank
wonderful, wonderful Christmas present.
He actually thought he was getting new mics, though. So,
Yeah, I thought it was just... It was the way she looked at me when I mentioned that we might have to. So I was like, did she get us new mics? And then these came. I'm like, these are fucking sick.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, so let's get into our lovely sponsors. We will start with...
I forgot the board. My daughter's got my car. It's in my car. Sorry.
Command Fire Apparatus. Need a reliable fire truck? Have a surplus fire truck to sell? At Command Fire Apparatus, they specialize in high-quality used fire trucks ready for your department. They're not brokers. They buy, refurbish, and sell directly to you. From pumpers to ladder trucks, they have what you need, and they pride themselves on delivering a truck to you that is ready to go in service. Join the many satisfied departments that trust them for their fire apparatus needs. Experience stress-free selling and buying today. Visit sellfiretrucks.com or call 866-238-6688. Your next fire truck is just a click away. Command Fire Apparatus is a firefighter-owned and managed company. And also, iCommand Board. As an incident commander, you know that running a scene can be chaotic. Not only are you responsible for getting the job done, but you're also responsible for the members that are putting their lives at risk. As the alarms we respond to change, so does the way we're prepared to handle them. Instead of trying to keep tabs on a whiteboard or notebook, what if there was a tool that had information and checklists that you can follow as the scene unfolds? Meet iCommand Board, a tool created by a fire chief to run flawless incident command. It's made to easily carry and fit in any responder vehicle or rig, and it's also designed for any calls our departments handle and can even be customized to your department's needs. If you're looking for an affordable tool to improve your fireground capabilities, visit iCommandBoard.com today. All right. So, what a year it's been.
So I'll start off with breaking your chops, because that's what we do.
Okay.
So when we started this thing, you said you were going to watch this video of how much you slimmed down over time. It didn't happen. You didn't slim down, buddy. I think you got bigger.
Yeah, I may have. No, you know what it was? I do remember this.
You said it.
You know what it was?
You
because
said you were going to slim down.
I said that I was going to do
Diet
sober January.
and work out.
I didn't say workout. We'll have to go back to the tapes. But
don't know
fuck
what
you,
you
Kev.
said.
How about that?
Come on, I think it's funny.
That is funny, but it's
We'll
true.
let's
Probably
start
true.
off New Year's resolution. You gonna have it? We're gonna take down some weight, both of us.
If you're in, I'm in.
You're in.
Ryan's
too?
in. Well,
What
how
are you
much
gonna
fucking
lose?
how much weight are you gonna lose?
No way. Come on. How tall are you?
6 foot.
All right. I'm 5'10". I'm under 200.
Kevin's a short person.
I'm 192, 193.
So
Short guy.
you can't. But here's the thing: you can't go based on the BMI scale
No, you can't.
because you look like a
But
crackhead.
listen, and we talk about fitness, mental and physical fitness for the fire service. It's very important, and it's a lot about technique. It's not always about total brute strength, but
Yeah, of
you
course.
still got to be able to handle and do the job. And so
Yeah.
we could start off with the good New Year's resolution.
All right, let's do
Take
it.
down a couple pounds.
We'll do a weigh-in, And
Oh,
then
we're gonna do a fat off. Or
yeah, we'll
something?
do a fat off.
Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, right.
But it is important to keep in good shape.
That is true. We'll see where we're at this time next
As I
year.
get older, it gets harder and
What
harder.
the
though.
fuck is in my nose? Every time I'm here, there's something just fucking around with my
Stuff's
nose.
flying around. It's
gotta be.
But anyway, sorry to break your chops.
No,
but
it's all
we're
good.
Gonna, we're gonna end
I
the
love
year solid.
Yeah. Well, let's do a little recap of the year because when we started this,
Who knew where we would be now? Right?
yeah, and you know,
Jesus.
we have talked to some amazing people both on the show and off the show, and I think it's important to
No
go.
more Zoom meetings.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I think it's important to go back and
No, I think it's a good idea. Let's recap.
yeah. So we'll start with the first guest we've ever had on, which was Tom Richardson,
Chief Tom Richardson.
which was an amazing episode. And for those listening, the episode is Leadership and Respect. That's episode number 11, and I think to date that's our longest episode.
Yeah, it's almost
And-
2 hours.
Yeah, and it's also our most viewed episode on our YouTube channel.
Oh, he's phenomenal. He really is a phenomenal person.
Yeah, that was. I mean, just in that 2 hours, I learned so much.
I thought it was great. He was the perfect person to break the ice
Yep.
for having guests on the show.
Absolutely, I agree.
I'd love to have him back on and talk more to him somewhere along the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
Yeah.
Number 2, Bobby Salveson from the Hazmat
Oh,
Guys.
Bobby's excellent.
Another excellent episode. That's episode number 16. So, yeah, that was very insightful, that episode, and we've been doing a lot of work with Bobby and Mike, and you guys will see a lot of that in the next coming weeks. Number 3, another great one, Aaron Heller, which is Leading from the Front. That's episode 19. Aaron's another.
Took him like 3.5 hours to get here that night.
Yeah, wasn't it like pouring rain, traffic.
Yeah.
Number 4, Scott Devonsky, Chief and Executive Director of the Suffolk County Fire Academy. That's episode 23. That is our most viewed episode on Spotify.
I think his counterpart, Dan Sicilian, just keeps replaying it over and over again just for the hell of it. See,
That's a lot of replays.
I love Danny.
Number 5 was Ed Wilmart III.
Another great
NYC
show.
Volley and Historian. That was episode 24. That was a great show to get a little insight on how the volunteer fire departments operate with FDNY in the city. I mean, I keep saying another great episode,
They're
but
all
it's number 6, Bobby Burke,
Oh, yeah.
the phenomenal episode, actor and volunteer fire captain with Ocean Beach Fire Department. That's episode 26. Number 7, our day one sponsor, who's still with us and he's continuing with us till the next year, Greg Weisberg, Chief and owner of iCommand Board. Another good episode. That's episode 28. After him, another one of our lovely sponsors. That's Glenn Houston
Yep.
with Command Fire Apparatus. Also author and photographer. That's episode 31. Really breaks down the pricing of apparatus and the pros and cons of buying new versus buying used. Number 9, Mike Monaco, also of the Hazmat Guys. That was a funny episode. 'Cause Mike's
Lot of
got
laughs.
Yeah, a lot of laughs in that episode. That's the Hazmat Guys Part 2, episode 37. And again, doing a lot of work with Mike and Bobby. And then number 10, Christina Moon, which is another very insightful episode. Founder of the Billy Moon Foundation, wife of Billy Moon, and that was episode 46. And
Learned a
then
few things with that one too.
What's
That's
that?
Good. Learned a few things.
Oh, yeah,
about
absolutely.
Organ donations and everything else.
And
Very interesting.
honorable mention, number 11, the Joey D seminar, because there were a bunch of different people that we got to speak to. And that's episode 43. So
And a lot of fun.
Yeah, and a lot of fun. That was a fun couple of days.
I say it a lot, and we have the seminar coming up in February, the 20th through the 22nd in Texas. That's our secondary seminar, which Steve Sangodolci runs, Affordable Drill Towers. He runs that for us and helps us out. But it really does reinvigorate you, right? I mean, both you guys said, like, you just wanted to go and burn buildings and stuff, and we were kind of playing around a little bit.
Go into burning buildings, not burn buildings.
Yeah, well, yes, true. Go into burning buildings. But it does. Every time you're around like-minded firefighters that want to do and want to learn, like, you just want to do more. Like, it's like, when do I get to go to the next fire, you know?
Yeah, and those dudes, like, everyone that's involved, like, they're all, like, legendary. Mm-hmm. And they're all about it. They're all about the guys. They're all about getting in there and getting dirty. And it's like, we talk about all the time, like, you got the trolls out there, and it's like
keyboard warriors.
Yeah,
and
the keyboard warriors, and it's like those dudes would never be like these guys at the Joey D seminar.
No. You see some of the comments, that picture I put up of Comac Fire Department, with the apparatus placement.
Yeah.
You see that? You see some of those comments?
Bunch of idiots.
I was like, oh my God, these guys, it's unbelievable. So the one chief from Comac, he texted me and he's like, thanks for the shout out on Facebook. I go, you love the keyboard warriors, don't you? And he wrote back and he goes, anything else you want to complain about or whatever?
I saw that.
But it's, listen, you can learn from anything. I say this, every single response, you can learn something. Apparatus placement, stretching lines, setting up ladders, whatever. Just getting dressed, getting on the rig, where to position. So, I thought that was a great overview picture from a drone of apparatus placement and where to keep your engine out of the way and stuff like that for the trucks and or a second truck coming in. But I thought it was a great photo. And, people are going to complain and bitch, and some people do it just to see what happens, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
you can learn from anything.
I mean, just even this podcast alone, I've learned so much. I've learned so much from you. I've learned so much from the guests that we've had. And then just even the people that have reached out to us throughout the year from all over the country or all over the world, telling us about what they do and how different it is. And, you say it all the time, get out of your zip code, get out of your zip code. And it's interesting to hear the perspective from these other fire departments out there. And, some of them that are really in bad shape and need some help. And thankfully we've been able to talk to them and offer them our help. And then there's other departments out there that are absolutely thriving and, have offered to share their, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Their success stories.
Well, I do say a lot, this department's 20 years ahead of us. This department's 20 years behind us, right? So we can all learn from each other in all different avenues. And the only way we learn is by sharing.
Yep.
Right? And that's what we do here. That's kind of why I teach as an instructor, right? I've gone through things. I've experienced things. I've learned things. Things have been passed on to me, and now it's my turn to pass it on to other people. And that's what this is all about. The fire service is about sharing. Don't hold it all back. If you're not sharing stuff, shame on you, because the only way to make people better is to share it.
Yeah, and I mean, from the people that we've spoken to or the people that have sent in submissions, asking us questions, most of them we share on the podcast, when people send us submissions, but then there's also people that have sent us things where, you and I have hopped on a call with them and, tried to get a better sense of what's going on with them.
And some of them are scary when you start talking to these people. You realize how the fire service is really hurting in a lot of areas. And, sometimes it's people, sometimes it's issues, sometimes it's political, and a lot of times it's money. And, we need to invest more in the fire service. I think it's very important. And I think we need to help people along, because the fire service, fire and EMS services is the first line of defense, right? If you think about it, right? The military is another line of defense for us, but the first responders, we deal with things day to day that come in and go, and we have to help people. That's what it's all about. And we're the first line of defense for everybody.
And gone are the days of the bucket brigades where it's like, hey, this building's on fire, just grab anybody who can help. Now, because there's different laws, there's requirements and everything like that, it's upsetting when you do talk to somebody who's trying to do the right thing and they're trying to get their volunteer department together, but they don't have the resources to do it, and then they wind up putting a lot of liability on themselves just because they were trying to do the right thing. So,
Or they don't know where to find the information.
Right.
And that's the other part of it, right? There's a lot of different avenues and resources available to you that you just have to seek it out, and you can't go by, oh, I didn't know. We did this and that, and this person got hurt or killed, and oh, we didn't know. It's out there. You can look a lot of this stuff up. And now with Google and everything else and all these search engines, you can search just about anything.
yeah, and
Or AI now. I mean,
based on the stuff that we've heard throughout the year, and I know we've been talking about this past couple episodes, but we've been working on a lot of stuff to help departments out there that are struggling, and we're trying to get it out to you as quick as possible. So just keep your eyes peeled for the next few weeks,
coming.
and we'll be putting some stuff out.
absolutely.
So I also figured it would be appropriate for our typical suspended or not. We've gotten a ton of submissions from it. Some have been hilarious. Some have been strange or interesting.
Some we couldn't even share.
Some we couldn't share. But based on the clips that we put out of the suspended or not submissions, the suspension of the year
Oh boy.
goes to the probie who told the fire academy instructor that he doesn't hit hydrants because he's in the truck company. That
was a good one.
That is the suspension of the year right there.
Proby talk a lot.
Also, we do job of the week every week.
Job of the year.
Job of the year. We decided to go with a recent one, which was the St. James Fire Department, the residential fire for the valiant efforts made by the chiefs to try and make a grab.
St. James, Wisconsin. Yeah. Unfortunately, a couple of people passed, but they did do their best and due diligence to try to save people.
Yeah,
which is,
I think that's definitely worthy of...
Are we going to do the worst job of the year, too? No, let's not do that one again.
So we do have a few submissions, some of the end of the year submissions that came in that we will do our best to answer. So you want to dive into those?
Sure, why not? What do you got for me? I love being unscripted, not knowing what's going on.
This one is a three-part, I guess. We have a heavy rescue equipped with everything you can think of for MVAs, hazmat operations, tech rescue, including a light tower and cascade system. Our rescue does not get called to the highway which runs through our town. In fact, they source out to an adjacent department out from a nearby town. What litigation purposes would this pose for a lawsuit if the patient is trapped and potentially succumbs to injuries?
So if there's an accident on the highway, they respond, but they don't take the rescue truck?
No, so
And they call for mutual
what
aid
they
rescue
what they wrote, I think there's multiple departments that handle one town.
Okay.
But each department has their own chief. And somebody gets called, they're the ones that have the rescue truck. And they decide to get it from, I guess, whoever the chief is in cahoots with at a different department. And they call in their rescue truck, which is further from this one.
Trying to understand exactly how that's going down. So they call somebody else then who's closer, or
Yeah,
they just
which-
have a relationship with them that the other department's automatic to go, or?
It seems like one of those situations that I think we've hit on before where there's favoritism when it comes to mutual aid. or getting the right, not calling the nearest fire station.
Listen, it's always going to happen. Listen, whoever's in charge of the call, the liability and responsibility is on them. So, could there be a liability on their part? Could be. Would they ever figure it out? Probably not. Nothing would probably ever happen as long as they're calling for resources and they have them coming.
I think that's debatable.
But I mean, listen, there's a lot of departments that have agreements with certain departments that, and we did this years ago. We used to have an engine come from a neighboring department, and that was the only department that would send an engine. And it could be all the way on the other side of town. And I had a problem with that. I said, why are we having an agreement with one department when we're surrounded by 5? Why don't we have the closest unit come, And it's since been changed, we have the closest engine as the automatic mutual aid.
So I remember years ago,
but
we had a.
hold on before you go there, but there is dust flying.
I know.
around here.
My nose is crazy right now.
I thought it was a bug, but it's dust. But anyway, yeah, there's always been relationships. There's always been problems like this in the volunteer system. It even happens in some paid departments where they don't want to call a certain department. Maybe they feel they're untrained. Maybe they don't like them. Maybe there's just a friendly relationship somewhere along the line. But you should be getting the closest resources as possible with the best trained people. So, that's up to them. But when you look at authority having jurisdiction or who's responsible or the liability, it's really up to them.
Yeah, like I said,
they want to take that on.
From what I'm getting from this, I remember years ago, we got called to a report of a structure fire on a specific block, and there was actually 2 streets in our district that had the same names, but it was like Boulevard and Lane, and one of them, we had half the street, the other half was from our neighboring department, and they got activated for the other street, got there, their location wound up being the one that was on fire, and they didn't have us continue in. They called in other departments. Mm-hmm. And that was like a huge stink, because it's like, yeah, if you do have somebody trapped or something like that, and you're waiting for a unit to come in when you have a firehouse, and that's the other part of it, the firehouse was right around the block from that fire. I do think there is, depending on if there's an investigation that's opened up and you get lawyers involved that might look into that and be like,
listen, anybody can sue at any time for anything.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to sue Kevin for his
and you're
comments
starting
before.
to see it more and more where chiefs and officers are starting to be held liable for things that are happening. There was a payout just recently. I can't remember. I think it was like $31 million to the family.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about it a little. But they said the chiefs were 50% at fault. So you got to understand there's a lot of risk and liability with whatever we do in the fire service, regardless. And as technology changes, as there's more and more cameras, like there's Ring cameras everywhere. Everything's on video nowadays. And we're going to see more of this. And when you have video proof, it's pretty cut and dry. So, if you're a chief officer and you're not going to go into a building, you're going to get on camera somehow. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's taking video of you. So, you should do your due diligence.
This follows the second question from this submission is, what are your thoughts about starting mutual aid before your own department's in town first? So,
what's that?
Again, what I said before, this one particular town has multiple, I'll word it this way, they have multiple fire stations. Mm-hmm. But each fire station, like how you and I would, but each station is technically a different department. They all get activated for the, to the same calls, but each has their own.
They're technically like companies, but they're departments.
Right.
And that goes on everywhere, right?
Each has its own chief. Mm-hmm. And I think what this person's getting at is there are chiefs that are going out and starting mutual aid departments from outside of that town rather than calling in the departments within that town.
Well, I mean, if you're on the border, it may be closer to call the mutual aid instead of within your own town.
Right.
I'll just explain my department a little bit, right? We're one department, cover 28 square miles, 3 stations that are set pretty far apart. Each of the stations are, I think, about 4 miles apart. So there's a lot of jurisdiction in the area. I can travel 4 miles out of my district and go through 3 different fire departments or fire districts. That's how big we are. So it gets into a situation like who's the closest unit or who's the closest firehouse. Not, yeah, this is my fire district. I understand that. But, there's another firehouse down the block that's a neighboring town. So what's closer? The neighbor next to me or my Station 2? Guess what? The neighbor next to me is closer than my Station 2 or Station 1.
Yeah.
So, my firehouse and the neighboring district, Stony Brook, Station 2, we're like 1.4 miles apart. But my headquarters is 4 miles.
Right.
My Station 2 is 4 miles, or just about 4 miles. So when you look at it, who's closer? If you banged out Stony Brook and Setauket, basically, we're side by side. You could have 2-station response. And when I joined way back in 88, it was a little different. But we didn't even bang out all our stations when there was a working fire.
Yeah.
I said this before.
Yeah.
You could have a fire and it was a 2-station response. The 3rd station didn't always go. And there were times where, guys are like, hey, you make that job the other day? I'm like, what job? And they're like, there was a job up by Station 1. And I go, no. I'm like, they didn't call us? And they're like, no, it was Station 1 and 2 only. But that's the way it was. We didn't have RIT teams. We didn't have all this. You had, 6 guys would turn out on every rig or more. So it's a different ball game that we're in now. And we shouldn't be bound by just district lines. We should be bound by who's the closest unit with the most qualified people. And we're starting to see that with all this automatic aid, right? Saying it's mutual aid, but it's automatic aid, right? You bang out your call, the neighbor gets banged out as well, it's automatic aid. So, people talk about box alarm assignments and all this stuff, but that's basically what it would be. If it's here, you call out these departments instead of this department. The problem is, and I've said this many times, we bang out all these departments that train differently. They have different criteria of what their qualifications are for officers, for firefighters, for everything else. You may not have a person that's trained the same way as your own department. And they operate on different SOPs, a different radio frequency, and all these other problems. And it's not everywhere. But that's what happens on Long Island here. Now, I don't know where this is from. There's a lot of places in New Jersey that are like that. Each station elects their own chief. And then they have a department chief or a department assistant chief. But you elect your own chief like you would elect your captain. And I know we're talking about elections again and popularities and all this other crap, who buys more beer. I've heard all the different stories. You should be voting in the best candidate possible. But you got to understand that, we're getting into a lot of liability issues and everything else. And there's just so much to it.
Yeah, I mean,
this is why we should have really the same SOPs, policies, same training levels.
To your point before, I remember when I first joined, between Hauppauge and Smithtown, Hauppauge's headquarters was literally right across the street from the southernmost end of Smithtown's district, and they received a call for a report of a house fire right on the border, and they were actually operating at a car accident up north in their area, and the chief that was on scene, it was during the day, he immediately radioed to dispatch because they said they were getting multiple calls and an occupant within. Immediately radioed to dispatch, start me out Hauppauge with full department response, because they're right there. They will get trucks there a lot faster than we're going to right now because we're all the way operating up there. So the third part of this this question here is, could you give advice for the chiefs of all departments involved to get along and figure out how to make the community safe with the departments in town versus utilizing out of towns first?
Oh, we kind of just talked
I know,
about
that's,
that.
yeah, so I was just going to say it kind of all ties in.
Yeah, I mean, you listen, everybody needs to work together. You need to be on the same page. It's always going to be a difficult feat until we all have standardized policies. And I know it's a troubling thing. Nobody wants to agree. Nobody likes change, right? We talk about this a lot. It's always going to be very, very difficult. And, like I said, my department, a lot of times we do duty crews. We have one on right now. Guys are doing from 2 to 6 p.m. today. We have a ladder crew, and our paid guys are on. So we have a dual, but we have people on duty. We did a duty crew a week ago, and a couple towns over had a fire, and we were in-house. And I'm like, I could be there in less than 10 minutes. I'm in-house. But they would never call us because we're a few towns away. But I could get there.
Right.
You know, and this is part of the thing where I really believe if everybody was on duty, it would be a lot easier. We'd know you get a quick response. But if people are on duty in the firehouse, you should be able to get on the radio and be like, hey, can we take that in? But we all deal with different dispatchers. We don't deal with the county, and some do, some don't, and it's a cluster, and then you're going to ask a chief's permission if you can go, all this stuff. But, I mean, realistically, like I said, I can travel 3 districts pretty quick.
I heard a
almost
story-
the same amount of time that I'm traveling across my own district.
I heard a story the other day of a department that had a fire. Chief was on the scene with none of his units there yet, and the neighboring department was coming back from their own call and radioed to the dispatch. I think the dispatch covers both these departments and said, hey, we
We're
got
available.
a full engine crew coming back from an alarm not too far from there. But apparently this chief held
Said
off
no. Yeah.
because he wanted his own guys
Exactly.
to get there.
And, you know,
And they got back on the radio. They said, just to confirm, you do not want our full engine crew there that's, 2 minutes away from this fire, and they don't have an engine on the road yet.
yep.
And, at that point, dispatchers...
And it's bullshit.
Like,
Hey,
what are you
listen,
gonna do?
like I said, I hate being beat into, but what's the best for the public? What's the best for the taxpayer, right? Getting people there fast, right? I said it before. Change the name. They don't care about names. They don't care paid, volunteer. They just want somebody. So why would we let a person's house get worse or their problem get worse when we have people available? And that's part of the thing. Like, I'm in the 5th division, but I border the 4th division. Like it's pretty close. Like I can get into the 4th division pretty quick.
Right.
We don't want to go to the 4th division, right? I mean, like, what's all this nonsense?
Yeah,
Like,
you have to, we talked about before, like the videos and stuff like that come out. Like one thing that firefighters, specifically volunteer firefighters, hate is when they're being bashed by the public. And when you have a situation where a neighbor's taking a video of their neighbor's house burning, and there's a chief just walking around, and it's taken forever for the fire department to come in here, then the news picks it up, and then it gets on social media, and all the neighbors, why the fuck did it take the fire department so long, blah, blah, blah. If you're in that situation where you did have like that engine available from your neighboring department, call them in, save yourself the bullshit. You got to think like that too.
just give, the people that hate me for this say this, give every chief like a brush truck with 300 gallons of water, and they could pull up and start putting the fire out. Right?
Yeah, right.
No, don't do that. It's unsafe.
Kind of comes into the next.
But it is
submission.
crazy,
This one, I think you'll have some insight on because I believe your department just changed over to this.
What?
This submission came in. There are talks in my department about removing the 2.5-inch line from our engines and replacing it with a 2-inch. I'm 100% against it. What are your thoughts about this? I feel it's better to have it and never use it rather than pull up on that huge fire and say shit. Bring into consideration weight and mobility versus flow rate and effectiveness. I appreciate your podcast. You guys definitely cover a lot of topics a lot of us need to hear. Thank you for this podcast. You didn't go to 2-inch though, but you did make a slight change, correct?
We went to 2 1/4. So we have 1 3/4, and then
Did you-
we have
okay.
2 1/4.
But did you remove the deuce and a half?
Yeah, we don't have 2 1/2 anymore.
Okay, so you got rid of that for the 2 1/4 inch.
Correct.
Okay.
It's the same flow rate, so that's why we did it.
Right. I
And
remember
it's
you
20
saying that.
pounds lighter per length, so that's why we did it. We didn't go with 2-inch. There are some departments that like the 2-inch instead of the 1 3/4, and still keep 2 1/2. They have both, just to get more flow. Is it really necessary? I don't think so.
So basically, it would be
I think you can do just as well with a 1 3/4 line than a 2-inch.
Yeah, so it's there. I mean, I don't know what their other. I would assume that their other attack lines for residential 1 3/4, and now they're going to a 2-inch.
Well, there are some departments that have gotten rid of both and just went with 2-inch overall. It's different everywhere. Like I said, I mean, there's still some departments out there that use 1.5 instead of 1.75. But it's just depending on what your department it works for your department. But
Yeah, I would say
I
that-
still think there's a need for larger amounts of water
Yes.
at times.
Yeah.
And whether you're using a 2.25 or a 2.5, 250 gallons a minute or more.
I would say too,
Some,
I mean-
some you can get 265 out of.
It depends on also, like you said, your area. If you have a heavy industrial area, probably want to go with the larger diameter hose to get more water out there.
Well, here's the other thing, right? With all these plastics and things that are burning these days, the BTUs that are being put out, the amount of heat, you have to overwhelm that with a significant amount of cooling power.
Correct.
Right? That's how fires go out, right? We're doing more cooling than it's producing heat. That's basically what we're doing. And if you don't have enough cooling power, the fire will overwhelm you. It's going to take over. So you get into a situation where you're in there with a 2-inch line and you have a significant fire load, or let's say it is commercial and there's something really severe burning in there, it may overpower that 2-inch line. I mean, I've been in some really serious fires, high-rise, wind-driven, everything else, where a 2.5 was like pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
And I know I've mentioned it before, and I know it wasn't in the valleys, but I've had some high-rise fires even here in the valleys because we have 3 22-story buildings. But they were never that severe. But, I think there is a need to have 2.5.
Well, that's
or
what I was saying is if you're in an area that has commercial type buildings.
Everybody's got commercials somewhere.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like if that's what you're like this area, for instance, it's an entire industrial park. You're going to need the 2.5 to put out large amounts of water. If this is, say, some rural department where you don't, maybe you got a strip mall or something like that, and your biggest concern is just residential fires, well, yeah, of course, you pull up, it's fully involved, or you get a big fire load, it would be great to have the larger diameter hose, but you could still technically put a 2-inch line into, say, a portable deck gun. You might not get the same flow out of it, but if you're pulling up to a house that's fully involved, you're not going in it, at that point, you're just pissing water on it.
You still got to be careful because,
Yeah.
Every department has the possibility of running mutual aid or automatic aid.
Yeah, that's the other part of it, too.
So you have to be prepared, not just for your own district, but the surrounding communities that you may respond to. And you may be the first due unit. If they're out at something else, let's just say they got a major car accident or they do have another fire, and now you're responding to that adjoining district, you better be set up for whatever you're going to handle in that adjoining district as well. So, everybody worries about themselves, and I get it. And we've had this conversation in the past because, like I said, we cover 3 22-story buildings. Our neighboring departments, some of them didn't have standpipe kits with 2.5-inch hose. And we said, you really need to have it. We don't have that. You deal with that. Well, what happens when we're busy? You're first due now. How are you going to handle it? If you don't train for what's in your adjoining districts, you're going to be really behind the 8 ball.
Well, Ryan, you probably see them in your rigs, but the coupling adapters, they have I don't know if it's 1 or 2 of the neighboring districts have different
threads. Yeah, we have that.
Yeah, and you'll see that with departments that have their own water district. They might have different threads than, say, like your county or township water district.
Correct.
You got to be prepared for that. You should have them in a bag of some sort or in the chauffeur compartment.
Yeah, we have. So when we run in south of us, Center Reach Fire District, their 2.5 is national standard. We use New York Corp. So it's 2 different threads. So we have adapters that go from New York Corp to National Standard and National Standards that go to New York Corp.
Right.
So the vice versa, God forbid, we can do it. So we have them spray painted in fluorescent colors, different colors. One's fluorescent green, one's fluorescent orange, so that we know which is which. All right? But it's important. And, like FDNY has their own thread. A lot of people have their own thread. There's pipe thread, there's all these different things. So you have to look at the numbers that are on there to determine the thread count and everything else. And that's the way it works.
I'll also say this. It just kind of made me remember, but going back to the previous submission with talking about the advice for the chiefs to work with all the departments within the township, one thing we started doing recently was working with our nearest mutual aid departments. We would do basically what you were just saying, having other departments understand how your district works. Like Hauppauge, for instance, we have a lot of high rise. So we would train a lot with Smithtown, our neighboring department, who borders the most with our district. And they don't have standpipes in their district or high rises, so they would come train with us. Mm-hmm. So that's another idea, maybe propose a training with some of these other departments in the area or some of the departments that aren't part of your town. Train with them and get to know each other better, build that camaraderie with these other departments that are out there.
And I said that even with parties, right? Christmas parties and installation dinners, you have other jurisdictions standing by for other people. Mm-hmm. But do you really understand that district? It's great. But, there was a Christmas party 2 weeks ago. I think three districts not around us, but close by to us, had mutual aid companies standing by. So one had a Nassau County department over.
Yep.
They had an engine and a ladder at that firehouse, right? And then the other one had an engine and a ladder, right? So if there was a fire, an engine and a ladder ain't going to handle much. So I'm like, there's 3 adjoining districts that only have an engine and a ladder in them. Like, be prepared. Something could happen. And do they know, can they handle that particular area? I would hope that we are, but you're not going to understand the districts. And so it's very important to really look at everything that surrounds you, right? And think about, like, even traveling back and forth from Yaphank, you could come across something on the way back or going, right? And that could happen anywhere.
Also, understanding, like, here, Suffolk and Nassau use different codes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes
radio codes,
it's like...
They've tried to get rid of that and go to plain language and everything else.
It's interesting, though, because it's almost like when you say another code, like from a different department that you're not part of, it's almost like speaking a different language. Like, it feels weird to say.
Yeah, well, that's why we have plain language.
Yeah, it's
Signal 10, working fire.
Yeah,
right?
Signal 10 here is notify police.
Yeah.
So it's like
Signal 13, structure fire here, 35, working fire. Right?
Yeah.
So, and we have all these numbers and codes. But
Signal 4 for them, I think, is brush fire, and Signal 4 here is under control. So it could be a lot of confusion depending on where you're from.
And that's why you got to go with plain language and make it simple.
Yeah.
But everybody should be on the same page as best as possible. But you should always be prepared for the unexpected because you don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
But having the right size hose and diameter hose and everything else, really look at what's surrounding you, not just your district.
Mm-hmm. So Kev, what things would you like to discuss leading into the new year?
Oh, we can go all over the place. There's so much stuff.
We'll save some for next year.
So I was talking to you guys before we started, but a lot of stuff has been coming in my head. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night and I write notes down sometimes, but I'm running from place to place, 1,000 things going on. But I don't want to get political, but...
Don't get political.
I know, because people could hate me for that, but...
They hate you anyway.
I think more and more and more about, and I say this all the time, we got to invest in the fire service and do all this stuff. But, like, you see this fraud crap going on in Minnesota. They're saying Ohio, and then you look at, Doge and all this shit, right? And they're saying this could be $110 million or $110 billion in fraud and waste and all this crap. Government employees being laid off and stuff. And I don't want to see people get laid off, but... If you think about that amount of money, if that was invested in the fire service across this country, how great our fire service would be, fire and EMS services.
Yeah.
Right? So just for an example, and I just wanted to look at this stuff, and there's roughly like 19 to 20,000 volunteer fire departments in the United States. 19 to 20,000. So let's just say that $5 billion, and I know there's probably more than that around, but $5 billion that is wasted, fraud, whatever you want to call it, was given to the volunteer fire service throughout this country. It would roughly be about $263,000 given to every volunteer fire service. Now, there's departments on Long Island probably don't need that $263,000, and I'm sure there's others
probably
around.
the fucking-
But these smaller departments that have no budget, $100,000, $150,000, even less, some of them, if they had that $263,000, how great their fire department could be. Whether you're paying firefighters, paying volunteers, buying new apparatus, right? Buying something from Glenn, right? You know, $263,000, you can maybe get a used engine that's a lot better than what you have currently. But if we actually took that money and it wasn't fraud and it was given to the volunteer fire service, how great we could be, right? There are a lot of departments out there. We've talked to a few, right? We've talked to New Hampshire, Vermont,
that money
Colorado,
is fucking
right?
3 times their operating budget.
Some of them, you're right, even upstate New York, right? There are departments that are suffering. They're hurting so bad. They're having trouble with recruitment, retention, everything. And I'm not saying money's going to fix all your problems. But if we didn't have all this waste and all this fraud and we actually invested in the fire service, how great it could be, right? Whether you're paying some firefighters, paying volunteers, getting new equipment, new firehouse, whatever the deal is, if that money was actually put towards something good, and our front line of defense, the fire service, and EMS services, how great we could be. So it's something to think about, and like I said, I'm not trying to get political or anything else, but there is a lot of waste out there. Even the federal government, right? They're laying off, and like I said, I don't want to see people lose their job and stuff, but they're laying off, or people have left the federal government. I think they said there's somewhere around 200,000 employees that have now been let go or getting new jobs, whatever the deal is. If those 200,000 people were paid in the fire service, how much better it would be, right? Think about that. That's a lot of money.
The only problem, though, is, and I agree with you that, yeah, that money would absolutely probably be well spent toward the fire service. But because of how local the fire departments are, to try and even suggest something like that to, like,
But you think about it. We give out federal grants
yeah, but that's
for
what's
staffing.
right.
We give out federal grants for equipment. We give out
that's what's
federal grants.
allotted to those grants, though.
I understand that, but I'm saying if you had the same type of thing where the money was dispersed, listen, it's never going to happen. But I think it's very important to think about investing in the fire service. We don't invest in the fire service. And this is a vital service across this country. Mm-hmm. I mean, when something bad happens, they're responsible. I mean, look at these rail cars that have gone off, right? What was it, East Palestine, and all these things, hazmat and everything. There's so much involved, and we don't put money into these people. And then we blame the fire department when something goes wrong, even if they're paid. Like, you look at California, right? They had the Palisades fire, right? Who do we blame? We blame the fire department.
What's
Burnt down
funny,
the whole town.
what's so interesting,
Like, it's ridiculous.
if you think about, like, the history of fire departments, we mentioned before, started out as the bucket brigades. Mm-hmm. And
Neighbors helping neighbors.
Yeah, and shit was burning so much that they're like, fuck, we have to make a specific department that handles fires. And now somehow,
the Great Fire of Chicago,
Yes.
New York City, they burnt down half the friggin' city.
but somehow, as years went on, the fire departments began to absorb every other fucking disaster under their
the fire
their
department
wing.
does everything.
Exactly.
And,
That's what I'm saying.
not only that, they expect you to be there in under 5 minutes, basically.
Yes.
Right? Even the police department, nothing against cops. I was a cop, right? They can put jobs in hold. We'll
Yes.
get there in a half hour. It's not a big deal, blah, blah. The fire department, they want you there on the spot.
Right.
They have a water leak, they want you there on the spot. They have an EMS run, cardiac arrest, they want you on the They have a fire, they want you there on the spot. The fire department can't say no.
Right.
We have to, we prioritize ambulance calls now to the most severe goes first and everything else. I get all that. But we don't do it in the fire service, right? They expect everybody to be there in 4 or 5 minutes. And it can't happen because we don't spend the money, we don't invest in it. But it is a problem. So it's just something to think about, but I know it's hard. It's an essential service.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I agree with everything you're saying. It's just it's easier said than done.
I mean,
So to speak.
think about those 200,000 employees. If you had 200,000 more firefighters across this country,
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
what its number? It's right. We're now between 600 and 700,000 volunteers. I think it used to be about 900 to a million in this country.
I thought it was higher.
No, I don't think it's a
I
lot.
thought it was over 1 million.
I don't think so. Volunteers?
Yeah,
Look it up. Google search it.
I got it.
I think it's between 600 and 700,000, somewhere around there. But anyway, another thing, just to talk about, God rest his soul. We laid to rest one of our members the other day, 58-year member, Mike Savillo. He is an ex-chief, ex-commissioner of my department. And every time it's always hard going to these wakes and funerals and everything else, whether it was a New York City firefighter or even a volunteer. But it was always good seeing when your neighboring departments come out. So Stony Brook and Selden both had their ladder trucks there, set up with an arch out front, and their members were in there at our wake services. The Chiefs Council, Suffolk County, and Town of Brookhaven came, and chief from Hagerman and chief from St. James, and I think it's very important that we honor these people. These are the people that built our fire departments across the country, and they gave a lot. Their families gave a lot to letting them go and take care of fires and emergencies and everything else. And it's so important that we turn out for these wakes and funerals and everything else. So I think that's another thing that's very important. We should talk more about that, of helping people, with services and funerals and everything else. Like, we should have procedures in place. There should be, things documented that we know what to do when somebody passes, whether it's line of duty, non-line of duty, an elderly member that's been in your department for many, many years. But you should have set procedures, and sometimes they don't. I've been to some of these things for other departments where it was very lackadaisical, and then others are very structured. And we should almost have like a Bible of what to do for every type of incident or funeral. But everybody does not deserve a line of duty funeral. Everybody does not deserve the worst funeral. But there's got to be something along the line, and that's something we should look at doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing is, I went out, had dinner with a paid department out east, Long Island, east of here. Member John Foley just retired after 44 years service in this paid department. I won't say which one, but he's also a volunteer out in Santa Maruch's fire department. And I worked with John for a little bit, and very knowledgeable and understood that place inside out. But I think it's very important that we show and dedicate things to people of the service they provide. And not that everybody always agrees with everybody or likes each other or anything else. We're still a brother and sisterhood, and it's very important that we honor people that put that much service and time in. And I don't know how much he has in Santa Mauritius. I'm sure it's even longer. But anybody that retires or puts time in and stuff like that, it's a very respectful journey.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, and look around. I mean,
And I still go in, guys in New York City when they retire, I still go to these, last tours and stuff like that as best, you can't make everything.
I mean,
You do the best
44
you can.
years is a long time.
It's a
but
tremendous
I mean,
amount of
they're
time.
like some of the older members. I remember a guy in my department hit 70 years of service. 70 years. He was a volunteer firefighter. When he started, when it was nothing but fucking brush fires, the entire town was just a fucking farm, and has been there for every change within the town, new developments being built, buildings being built, the fire service changing, new fire stations being built, new structures. So it's like there's just so much like history involved with that, and to think it's there was no one else that had that 70 years with him.
Yeah.
You know?
The only problem with some of that stuff, and I understand there's always an avenue in the fire service for something, but what we consider active and non-active, right? I mean, there's only so much time that you can get on and off a truck, right? There should be we should differentiate between active service and being on rigs.
Well, this
and
guy,
off
this
rigs.
guy,
But
fire police
there-
guy all the
there-
way.
Right. And there are people that are still very active as senior people. And then there's some that aren't. They just don't come around anymore. And we consider them volunteers. We consider them on our rolls and everything else. And I'm not putting anybody down because some of them do a lot of other social functions, whether they're treasurers or, they're running meetings, they're president of an organization, stuff like that. There's people that do and there's people that don't, right? We've always seen it in the volunteer service, right? You could have, let's say, 100 members, but what's your core group that actually comes out and responds?
Yeah,
right? And, so we call everybody a member, or you have life members, active members, all this. There's all this different jargon of what is considered active service. But
You know who I feel bad for? The senior guys that still want to get on the rigs,
we've had members.
but they just fucking can't. There was a guy that
Right.
they gave
we had members 66, 67 years old that still rode the ambulance, still EMTs, still caring for
Yeah.
people. And then we have others that, they do 20 years of service and then they just
Yeah,
show
I
up.
mean, you got those
knife and
people.
forkers,
But
so
there
you
was
have
there was
all
a
these
guy-
different extremes.
A guy who he went to fire police and then was like, I need to get back.
Yeah.
And he was older.
Oh, yeah.
But he got brought back on as a chauffeur, as a Class B fireman though.
Right.
So he wasn't interior, but he was allowed to be an engine chauffeur. And then a couple years later, the driving starts to get a little wonky.
Well, and that's something
and
that
then
you
it's
have
like-
to really look at.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be involved in age discrimination or anything else, but there is a time and a point in time that you just should not be doing anymore. You should not be driving, right? You're responsible for everybody on that rig. And it does come to a point, we've seen it where a member just starts hitting mailboxes and over again, like, they can't see it at night. Well, then why are they driving the apparatus? at
Right,
night?
yeah.
It shouldn't happen anymore, right? And, there's a reason why, like the New York City Fire Department, you age out at a certain point. They say you can't be a firefighter anymore.
Right, yeah.
Whether you're a chauffeur, whether you're an administrator, it doesn't matter. You just can't do it anymore.
Right.
And it's not age discrimination. It's just you're talking about liability and risk. Not only for that person, God forbid they have a heart attack or anything else, but you have a heart attack driving a rig, you could kill 6 other people on or 5 other people on a rig with you. So these are things we have to look at, right? This is a young person's job. The fire service is a young person's job. And as I get older, I feel it more and more, right? My back, my neck, I got all sorts of issues, and I still go. And if I go to a fire and I work hard, I feel it for a couple days after. I'm not 25 years old anymore, right? It's a young person's job. But I'm not saying there isn't a place for people. I mean, we still have people in their 60s and 70s, exterior firefighters, riding on the rig, or driving the rigs. And they're still fully functioning and doing what they can. Some can't. There are others that are doing it and they shouldn't be, So we have to look at this stuff. There's a lot of risk and liability. I don't want to see anybody get hurt regardless. But, you got to be careful. But even some of these fire police guys, I see them standing in the street. Get out of the road. I don't want to see you get hit. You're not going to move fast. If that car comes at you, you're not getting out of the way.
Yeah.
It's not happening. So we have to look out for each other. We're all everybody's safety officers.
Absolutely. With that, I would like to say to everyone, all our listeners and followers, have a very happy and safe new year. And thanks for spending time with us throughout this year. And I'm super excited for the following year. And
I think we got a lot of good things coming up. I think we're going to have a lot more episodes. We're looking to even remote some guests in at some point. We're working on a lot of different things. I mean, I think we're going in 18 directions.
yeah,
but,
we are. We're going on a million directions.
But
But
we're going to make a lot happen. And yes, Happy New Year to everyone. And be safe in the new year. Look out for each other. We're going to do what we can to help and share any information we can with you. Keep sending your suggestions in or comments. No more bashing.
keep going after Kevin.
That's all right. Whatever.
But I have to say, though, even though we are going in all different directions with the stuff we have coming up, it's everyone we've been working with, the fact that everyone's on the same page, that we're talking to each other daily, that we're getting these things done. I think you guys will see how much work was put into all this stuff that we're going to be putting out next year at this point. So I'm really excited to get that out to the masses.
Absolutely.
And
we're learning. I mean, we didn't think we'd be where we are today. I mean, right? I mean, we were talking about this. Who knew that this was going to take off the way it did?
yeah, so I'm definitely excited to see what next year
Top
brings.
1% of shows on Spotify, new shows, right? I mean, that's crazy. Beat out 99% of other shows. That's pretty phenomenal.
Hey, it's what happens when you stay consistent, right?
Yep. So,
You know? And thank you also to our sponsors, the ones that have been with us.
we're
the
still
ones
looking
that
for
have-
more. We're looking
Yeah.
for more sponsors. If you want to jump on board the Volley House podcast, please reach out. And
Yeah, and we'll put you in touch with some of our sponsors who are still with us and people that are willing to work with us. So thank you to them for helping keep this going. Thank you to everyone who's bought, merch from us. And if you haven't,
sweatshirts, hats, people asking where, go
Yeah.
to volleyhousepodcast.com.
and stickers are there too, because I
gotta-
know a bunch of people were asking about stickers. Put them on the website.
We're going to add some more merch to that, too.
Yeah, that's another thing we got to work on.
If you any suggestions of what you want, we can put it on there. So just let
Yep.
us know.
And also, thanks to Ryan, who's been coming through and doing the stuff with us, getting out down and dirty at the Joey D seminar and coming to the studio.
Next time he's bringing his gear, though.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that is a wrap with episode 49.
And the wrap of 2025.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.